Jeff with Teaching Online with Jeff, and in this video I wanted to do a quick overview of the tool called FlipGrid. I know that there are a couple people who are asking about, how this works and how you might use it. So I just wanted to do a quick overview of what this tool is, how you can use it for your class, and some of the pros and cons of using a platform like this. So first thing is that FlipGrid is provided by Microsoft. And this is a tool that is primarily about creating interaction with your students. So it's giving you a way to create interactive exercises with your students, and then giving your students a way to share things that they create with other students in their class. So this is a video-based tool, so that's a big thing to keep in mind, is that if you're going to use this, know that your students are going to need to be able to record with a video. There's ways that they can share other resources, but this is primarily about classroom interaction in a remote way, and it's going to be focused on sharing video with one another. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. So I'm going to quickly walk through how you can set up an account with FlipGrid and then how you can get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Educator Sign Up. So after clicking Educator Sign Up, you're going to see this option. You can either sign up with a Google account or a Microsoft account. It's really up to you in terms of which one you want to choose. It's not going to change the experience if you sign up with Google or sign up with Microsoft. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up with Google. And then I am going to use a different account. So what you're going to do here is you're going to put in your Google information, and then you're going to put in your password. I use a password manager, so that's why you see that popping up here. And then it's going to link to the account, and then there's just some information that you're going to want to put in here. You're going to want to put in the country. You're going to want to put in the age range. I'm going to go ahead and do technology and instructional coach. As far as I know, there's no difference based on what you choose here. It's just a way for them to identify. And then you can put in a date of birth if you don't feel comfortable putting in your actual birthday. One easy thing to do is just put in something that's close. Because I know some people are sensitive about that, so let's go ahead and just do something like that. And then you'll click Let's Go. And so when you start up, you're going to see this little pop-up that just gives you some information about the basics of how to use it. I'm going to go ahead and start my grid. And what it's going to ask you to do is you're going to start your first grid. And really, the way to think about this is like this is your classroom. So what class are you setting this up for? So if you're an elementary school teacher, it could just be the one class that you teach. If you're in middle school or high school, it could be you might want to set up a separate grid for each of the different periods, or even just the different subject areas in case it doesn't matter which period they're in. And then obviously for college and universities, you can use whatever class it is that you're teaching and just create it. But think of this as your grid is your classroom. That is the group of students that you want interacting together. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in a test name here. And then you have 3 different options for the ways that your students can connect. You can have them sign in using their school email. That's a really good option if you have a Microsoft or a Google account through your school. That just gives you an easy way to do that. You can also create student IDs that can join your grid, or you can just make this public. Now, it really depends on what's going to be easiest for you. If you want to ensure that only students that are connected to your class and in your school are able to connect, one of these 2 options is probably going to be the best. School email will probably be the easiest, but you can do a student ID list as well. If you don't have either of those easily accessible, you can also do public, which just means that there's a link that you would share. It's okay if you use this. You're going to see that there's a code that your students will need to join in order to connect. I'm going to go ahead and do public because I don't have students, but I want to show you another feature that you can use even if you do use public. You can add a password. So if you're still worried about having something out there public, and it's not easy to have you set up a school email address or student ID list, you can always add a password here. It doesn't need to be incredibly complicated, but they do need to have at least 2 of these. So in uppercase, a lowercase, a number, or a symbol, 2 of those have to be in your password. And if you type it in and you need help seeing what you've actually typed in, you can click on this little eye icon over here and it will show you what password you've put in. So that's an easy password for me. I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and then I'm going to click next. And then that's the code that you can share with your students so they can connect to your grid. So you can copy that and you can send that in an email, and that's the way that you can share your grid. You can also share this if you want to embed it on a website. You can do that. If you're using Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, or Remind, which are all different platforms, you can share it there as well very easily using these. But I'm going to go ahead and go to my grid. Okay, so this is what you're going to see when you land on your grid page, and it's going to start you out with a topic to begin with, which is just an introduce yourself topic. You can edit this if you want to by clicking on this pencil icon. You also have actions here where you can edit the topic. You can record a response. We'll get into some of these later. You can hide this topic if you'd like. You can duplicate it, export it. You have a whole bunch of options there. What you may want to start out doing, if you're okay with having this kind of be your intro, is going ahead and just adding your own response. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add your own topics. So think of topics as like different assignments or different topics that you want your students to discuss. So there's two ways to do that. One is by adding a new topic here. I'm going to go through that first, so let's go ahead and click on that. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to add a topic title. So I'm going to go ahead and add mine as a test topic. And then you can choose the recording time. And if you were with me in the live session, you'll know that 90 seconds is usually a pretty good time that gives students enough time to say what they need to say while not overwhelming you with really long responses. So that default is pretty good. If you want to change it, you have these options here. 15 seconds can be really interesting if you want to just have students say like one sentence or something really quick. 5 minutes might be something if there's a really deep topic where you want them to say more. But 1 minute 30 seconds is usually a good starting point, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. And then you can add the question. So I'm going to go ahead and say, what is your favorite aspect of teaching? And that can be up to 500 characters long, so know that. You can do some minor formatting on the text if you want to do that. You can include links if you want to as well. So know that those are things there. So once you've put in that, the next thing that you're going to do is pick a focus. And really what the focus is giving a theme or an intro to what the prompt is, and it's usually visuals. So you can record a video which can give additional instructions or talk more about what the prompt is. You can upload a pre-existing video or add a video. These might be useful if there's a particular video that you want students to interact with. You can also upload an image or add a GIF. And then you also have all these options down here of other things to add. And really the focus is a way to either frame the topic that you're going to be talking about, or give it some more context or give students something to interact with when they go into this discussion. That I'll show you where that shows up. For right now, I'm just going to go ahead and add an emoji. So that one looks pretty good. And then know down here that there's more options. And so what you can do under more options, you can add a tip. So think of that as like a little subtitle, or if you want to give students a hint of kind of like the way that you want them to go, you can add that here. If you want to add any attachments, so maybe there's a document that you want them to read that's linked in your Google Docs or your OneDrive, you can add that here. If there's a website you want them to see, a YouTube video you want them to see, all of that you can add here, and you can add as many as you want, and then you can just give them a title. So I'll just as an example, I'm going to add Google, and the title will be Google. So when they see this, they're going to see an option to click on a link that will take them to Google. And then if I want to add another attachment, I can just click that button and do that. I'll go ahead and delete that for right now. This is really important. Know that you can moderate videos, so if you're worried about what your students are going to post and you want to be able to view it before they see it, publicly or for everybody else in the class, you can turn on video moderation, and that's going to let you review every video and approve it before it goes on. Now know that that's going to add a little bit of time and effort to what you're doing on FlipGrid, so just know that. But if you want to turn that on so you have that check, you can do that. Most likely you're going to want allow student-to-student replies. That means students are going to be able to respond to other students. If you turn that off, they'll only be able to respond to the teacher. This just sets is this active, is it frozen? So if it's frozen, it means that students won't be able to contribute to it, but they'll still be able to see what was there, or you can hide it. And then if you want to automatically set an end date for this, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and set the 27th. So this will go for a week. And what that means is as soon as this is done, it's automatically going to freeze it so that students can't add to it after that date. It's a good way to add a due date if you want to, and you'll notice that it's going to freeze it at 11:59, so it's going to give them the entire day. There's not, unfortunately, a way to set a time period, so there's no way to do it by like 5 p.m. So just know that it's going to be at the end of the day when they do that. And then you have a number of options down here. Most of them are pretty straightforward. And so one thing that you may want to do if you want to have students be able to vote on particular videos, you can add likes. If you want them to be able to do an activity that is linked to this video, you're going to want the attachment link there. That's going to let them add a Google Doc, another video link to YouTube or something like that. All of that is there. So, and then finally, you can set the different types of feedback that you want. So there's basic feedback, and that's just going to be some prefab ideas that they have there. So ideas and performance is just, this is really about how are you assessing the video? How are you going to tell whether they made a good contribution or not? So you can use that basic feedback. If you want to, you can create your own custom feedback by clicking on this and then adding your own criteria. When you click on that, that's going to give you an option to name the criteria. So this might be clarity, and how easy was it to understand the video. So that's the criteria description. And then you can choose a minimum and a maximum score. And so this gives you a way to actually grade the interactions so that you have a way to give your students feedback. So I'll go ahead and create that. And there's more that we could add, but I'll go ahead and just leave that there for now. So we're going to go ahead and create that topic. And you will be able to share that directly with your students as well. So if you don't want them to have to go to your FlipGrid, you can have them also go directly to that. And again, you have the same options down here. So we're going to go to all set. And then, like I said, that whatever that focus is, that's what's going to show up here. And so I chose that emoji. That's what is kind of defining this topic, as this is what this topic is about. So I'm going to show you how that can be useful in other places. You can record your own response, so know that you can do that as the teacher, but this is where you will see your students put their responses up here. So that's one way to create a new topic. The other thing I really quickly want to show you is the Disco library. And the Disco library is an area where you can see what other teachers have shared and use those in your course if you'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and do Learning from Home. And what you'll see is that's automatically going to give me some options down here sorted already in terms of things that I can use in my class if I don't want to have to create something original. So we're going to look at this, and Book Talks looks really interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and tap on that. And you can get you can see what the topic is of the topic and how you can use it, and you can just determine if you want to do that or not. You can see how many times it's used, so this looks like it's pretty popular. It's been used over 500 times, and this will give you just some notes on how it can be integrated. So if you like this and you want to use it, you have a couple options. You can add it to your favorites so that you can come back to it if you want to use it multiple times, and then you can just choose. So I'm going to choose the grid that I want to add it to, and then I'm going to click Add. And then that will automatically take me to the edit screen with everything that you want. And you'll see again that focus. So because this is Book Talk, the teacher decided to use books, so that gives a really good way of kind of seeing what this topic is about. and you have the prompt here, you have everything set. You can edit any of these that you want, so it's just the same. You'll click update topic, and then that will add it to your grid. And if you want to see everything that is in your grid, you can use this breadcrumb trail up here, so this will let you go back. So you can, again, if you have multiple grids, you can go all the way back to that. You can click on the grid that you're working on, and then you'll see right there that all of my grids are here. So that's a really basic overview of how it works. There's a lot more that I could go into, but hopefully this gets you started. One thing I'll note is that if you team teach or co-teach with anybody, know that you can add a co-pilot so that you can both be editing these at the same time and collaborating together on that. Know that that's there. And so what are the pros and cons of this tool? So obviously the big thing is that this gives you a really good way to interact with your students and to have it be more than just text-based interaction. Your students will get to see each other, they'll get to see you. It gives you a way to mimic the classroom experience as closely as possible. So that's really helpful. There's a lot of tools here that you can use to help you schedule things out, so you can build a lot of things in advance. So that makes it really helpful so that you can do a lot of the work on the front end, and then once the class is actually going, it lets you just, the grid itself kind of runs on autopilot, and you can be more focused on just interacting with your kids. The Disco library gives you a lot of options. If you don't necessarily know where to start, it gives you some great options to think about where to start there. So what are the cons? The biggest one is that because it's all video based, you really need to know what your classroom demographics are and know whether that's going to be feasible for where you are and where you're teaching. The other thing is that this is, again, a discussion based tool, and so the goal of this tool is not to necessarily replicate your entire class experience. What it's really trying to do is give you discussion-based things. So if you're looking for a tool that's really going to help you, do all of your assignments the way that you normally would and do things like tests and essays and things like that, this is not necessarily the tool for you. This is really going to work well in areas where you need to have more of a class-based discussion. The other thing just to keep in mind is that this is all asynchronous, so you're not having anybody connecting at the same time necessarily with this. This is all going to be stuff that is happening out of sync. And so just keep that in mind as well. It's not going to have the same type of immediacy as an in-class discussion, but it's going to be a pretty good substitute for having those types of discussions around things. So that's a quick intro to FlipGrid. Hopefully you found that helpful. I'm going to post a couple other videos that go over some other tools that you might be able to use, but hopefully you found these useful. If you like these videos and if you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to keep up to date on all the latest topics. And I'll see you in the next video.